If you can't control your baby, then first class is not for you. The words exploded like a whip across the luxury cabin, sharp, cruel, and meant to sting. A flight attendant, lips curled in disdain, towered over a young black mother clutching her infant. And before anyone could even process the insult, the attendant's hand cracked through the air and landed across the mother's face while she still held her child. Gasps filled the cabin. Passengers froze in disbelief. Phones came out. But here's what no one on that flight knew. The man sitting just a few rows away, quietly watching, was not just another first-class passenger. He was her husband. And not only her husband, he was the billionaire owner of the entire airline. Before I dive into this shocking story of humiliation, hidden power, and breathtaking justice, tell me what country you're watching from. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications, because what's about to unfold will leave you stunned. And trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Her name was Alicia, a strong, proud black woman in her early 30s with warm bronze skin and a quiet strength that radiated through her every movement. That morning, she wasn't dressed for glamour or display. She wore a soft gray cardigan, jeans, and simple sneakers because her only focus was her baby daughter, wrapped securely in a pastel blanket against her chest. Alicia was no stranger to life's challenges, and she had endured more than her share of quiet stares and whispered judgments. But she walked into the first-class cabin with dignity, not asking for anyone's approval. She was there because her husband wanted her comfortable. She was there because she belonged. What she didn't know was that this flight, meant to be just another journey, would turn into the battlefield where her dignity was tested and ultimately restored. The cabin was sleek cream leather seats, golden accents glowing under soft lights. But the atmosphere turned hostile the moment the flight attendant laid eyes on Alicia. Tall, sharp-featured, with a practiced smile that barely masked her contempt, the woman radiated the kind of arrogance born from too much unchecked power. From the start, she treated Alicia with disdain. When Alicia politely asked for help lifting her small diaper bag, the attendant shoved it into the overhead bin with unnecessary force, rolling her eyes loud enough for the whole row to see. Later, when Alicia stood to gently rock her baby, soothing the child during light turbulence, the attendant snapped at her, accusing her of blocking the aisle, as though the tender act of caring for her baby was an offense. Passengers exchanged uneasy glances, but no one spoke up. Then came the breaking point. As Alicia carefully shifted in her seat, the baby let out a soft cry, normal, harmless, the voice of an innocent child. The attendant stormed over, her patience thin as a razor's edge. And with venom in her voice, she spat the words that froze the cabin in place. If you can't control your baby, then first class is not for you. And before anyone could react, her hand lashed out, slapping Alicia across the face. The sound cracked through the air like thunder. The baby wailed. Passengers gasped. Phones were raised in trembling hands. But Alicia did not retaliate. She held her child closer, her dignity shining even as her cheek burned. What the attendant did not know was that this very moment was being watched by a man who could end her career with a single word. A tall, broad-shouldered man in a dark-tailored suit rose slowly from his seat. Sunglasses removed, his eyes burned with calm authority. At first, passengers didn't recognize him. But the way the crew froze told a different story. This was no ordinary passenger. This was the billionaire owner of the airline, the man whose name sat on every legal document, whose signature approved every paycheck. And the woman who had just been slapped, she was his wife, the mother of his child. He walked toward Alicia, gently took the baby from her arms, kissed his daughter's forehead, and then turned his gaze on the flight attendant. In that moment, the hierarchy shattered. The crew paled. The captain rushed out of the cockpit. and realization rippled like fire across the cabin. She hadn't just insulted a passenger. She had humiliated the family of the man who owned it all. The owner didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His quiet authority carried more weight than shouting ever could. With one phone call at 30 feet, the airline's executives were alerted. Orders were given. By the time the plane touched the runway, the flight attendant's career had collapsed. She was escorted off the plane, her badge stripped, her arrogance turned into shame. Passengers erupted in applause. Some hugged Alicia, some whispered apologies for their silence. The world outside the cabin soon joined in as the story spread across headlines and screens. Flight attendant fired mid. Flight after slapping airline owner's wife. Alicia, however, didn't bask in the drama. She held her baby close and remained what she had been from the very beginning: graceful, strong, unbroken. The aftermath was more than just justice. It was transformation. The owner mandated sweeping changes in the airline. Respect and inclusivity training, zero tolerance for abuse of power, and a clear message sent across every rank: no passenger is less than. For Alicia, the experience became symbolic, not of her pain, but of her resilience. She hadn't shouted. She hadn't fought back with anger. She had stood tall, and in doing so, she exposed the arrogance of someone who thought her skin, her baby, her presence in first class made her less deserving. Now, she had become a living reminder. Dignity cannot be bought, cannot be slapped away, and cannot be denied. And that is the story of how a cruel insult and a single slap at 30 feet backfired into one of the biggest public humiliations ever seen in the skies. What would you have done if you were there? Would you have stood up or stayed silent? Comment your thoughts, I want to hear them. But before you leave, make sure you smash that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and share this story with someone who needs to be reminded that dignity and justice always rise above arrogance. Stay tuned, because the next story, even more shocking, even more powerful, and you will not want to miss it.